Hello, you're listening to the Small and Supercharged Podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 3. So today we have Sophie Callahan. So Sophie, for anyone who doesn't know you, tell us all about you, what you do.
Oh, on the spot. I am an equine photographer, and I do portrait sessions with private clients, and I also do commercial sessions with equine, country and rural businesses. I am also a country lifestyle blogger and a vlogger.
So not much, essentially. You just don't.
That's why I said on the spot. I have to remember all my list of things that I have to go through.
Yeah, maybe I should have prepped you a bit, but this is way more fun. But today we're going to focus in on one side of it, which is the commercial photography, because Sophie very, very kindly gifted me a shoot for my Christmas present. I was going to say my birthday. It wasn't my birthday. It was my birthday. And came to the pictures last week. Well, no, 2 weeks ago now. And the good thing is, obviously, we did pictures of the horses, but I was really keen to get some pictures for my website. So it's not commercial well, it is commercial because it's for my website, but obviously a commercial shoot isn't just people having headshots. So can you talk about the kind of scope of a commercial shoot? What kind of things can you do on a shoot? Who is a commercial shoot good for?
Any brand or business, really. I mean, I have photographed commercial clients from like veterinary practices. So I have had a dog laying on the table with his legs in the air, getting his dignity removed, and I photographed that on like having surgery. Yeah, so I mean, anything like that. I've had country fashion brands. I've had personal trainers.
I did not know that. That was news to me.
Yeah, horses getting their like a poultice put on. That was another veterinary one. I've had food and drink brands. I've had a publishing brand. I've had like show producers and show teams, professional riders, really the social media presence, and that needs images and content to put online. We can do a shoot, whether it's product based or service based.
Okay, so how do you go about it? So you've got a business and you think, yeah, actually I need some more pictures. I think that I know with me, I do a lot of my own Instagram pictures, hence they're a bit dodgy. But in terms of having my own pictures taken, I've nearly been on the verge of divorce when I've been yelling at Lol to try and take a picture of looking jolly. With me going, no, I'm scowling. So obviously the headshots is a really important thing. If you're a brand, well, actually, I think even if you're a company, it's good to know the people behind the brands. Yeah. But obviously, you've got the product element too. So how do you go about organising a shoot? What information do you, as a photographer, need? How would I, as a brand, go about organising a shoot? How do I know who to pick?
Obviously, you book me. No, totally kidding.
Obviously.
There are a lot of photographers around at the moment, and I think there are a couple of questions here. Firstly, how do you go about booking? You need to find a photographer that suits you. So if you have a light and airy brand that's kind of very female based, like my business is my audience is very female dominated, 80% female. So my images are very light, very airy, very feminine. There's a lot of emotion in them. So brands that would kind of align with that kind of image are good for me. And you need to find a photographer that suits your style, suits your brand, and just kind of do some research, I think, first. And then once you've found the photographer you like, I think just email them or call them or however they prefer to be contacted. I tailor every shoot to suit each client. Every shoot is completely different. So if it's a product-based business, they will send me the products of the time, and I'm happy to source models and locations and all of that. So it's really simple on their part. They kind of give me a brief and I go and get on with it. Alternatively, if they want to be involved, then they're more than welcome to be involved. They can come down here, or I can come up to them wherever they are in the country, because I travel over. So really there's no kind of limitation. It's whatever suits you. Like you said, it's great to have headshots and shots. Like personal brands are just so popular at the moment. It doesn't matter what you do, having your face on your brand is so beneficial. And encourage people to be in the photos, then I will, but obviously it's not for everybody. Yeah, if you're a service-based business, I think people think that's harder. But again, it's about the personal brand behind it. It's about If you, for example, I've done a lot of equine therapy, mass therapists, you just photograph them doing what they do. You still need images, you still need content. So we will find a way to create you content.
So in terms of, obviously when you find a photographer, you phone them, you speak to them, you obviously you'd look at their previous work as well, because you said your images are quite kind of light and feminine, but not everybody's brand is light and feminine. But on the flip side, I've seen quite a range of, I know a lot of yours, you know that they're a Sophie Callahan, but especially for brands, they do seem a little bit different to the portrait shoots. Would that be right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you have to, I think every photographer's got a style, and you have to respect and like the style of the photographer. But equally, the photographer does have to understand the brand and shoot for the brand. So a lot of my images are outdoor images. I like to use a lot of natural light, and I like to shoot outside, but I've had a homeware image, a home brand, where I've had to shoot indoors, and that's fine. But it just obviously requires me to kind of think a little bit outside of my usual box and work out what light I'm going to use and how to. Brand is obviously different, and I know my brand really, really well. So when I'm taking portrait photographs, it's easy because I just crack on with my own brand and my own style, and it doesn't matter, it's not for somebody else's brand. Whereas when you're photographing for a business, you have to really keep that in mind, which is just a totally different skill to the ones I'd usually use when I'm doing portrait photography.
So if someone has got, say, I don't know, 3 people on a short list, what questions would you suggest they ask these photographers to make sure they're going to get the best shoot for them and for their brand?
I think rather than having specific questions, I think maybe just chat to them in general, because I think you have to like them, like the way they work, feel that you can trust them with your brand, speak to them about, maybe send kind of a mood board and get them to send you some ideas, because it's so difficult when you've got an idea in your head that you know you want, but to get that out on paper or in an email or whatever to the other person, it's really, really difficult to get that to translate. So I think just keep talking to them, maybe share some ideas, go on Pinterest, find some things you like on there, and make sure that they understand your vision for what you want and for what you're after, and also for the usage of the images afterwards as well. If you want to use images on social media, then they need to be shot. For example, if you're shooting for Instagram, shoot a lot of portrait images rather than landscape images, because that's more popular. Things like that. They need to just understand your brief, understand what you want. You need to feel that you trust them. So rather than specific questions, I think it's just get to know them a little bit and see who you connect with the most and who you feel most comfortable with, especially if you're going to be in the photographs, because you need to feel comfortable.
And how, and you said about using the images in terms of, Instagram or whatever. Now, I know this is a subject that people talk about a lot, but so you take pictures for my brand, let's say. Mm-hmm. Tell me about copyright and who owns the images and what I'm allowed to do with those images. And obviously not just for me, because I'm special, but how does it work? Because there is a lot of confusion about this. I think we've seen this.
There is, yeah. I think, again, the key is communication. You have to, your photographer should tell you exactly what you can do with the images, and they'll have contracts and stuff that you will sign, and commercial usage rights are different to private usage rights. So I always own the copyright of my images. I would never, unless you offered me an obscene amount of money, sell the copyright to my image. So what you are buying is the usage rights. It means that you can't, in really, really basic terms, edit or sell the image on, but you are allowed to use them for, if you want to make like a big banner, if you're a show or an event or something like that, then you have paid for that right. But yeah, your photographer should have a commercial contract for you to sign that has everything in it, and it should all be very clear, very listed. And if you've got any questions, then just ask. And always tag them. No.
Very confused. Like, oh well, actually, I've paid for it, so therefore I can use it. and they can, obviously depending on the contract, it's they can't kind of sell it on or do other things. There's a limit to it.
It's they own tagging. If you've bought a photograph, photographer, you don't have to tag them. There's nothing that says you have to tag them, and sometimes it's not appropriate. Obviously it's always nice and if you get along with your photographer, then that's great. And you know, I will always tag brands in my images, and I don't have to do that. So I would hope that if it's appropriate, people would tag me back, and it just helps, doesn't it? It's all about that collaboration. And so that's where we stand on that.
And how does the costing work? I don't expect you to say, well, it'll cost you X, but do you pay per image? Do you pay for a half a day? Do you pay for a full day? How does it work? And also, is this something that if someone phoned you, told you what they wanted, you would give them an upfront quote or a price? It wouldn't be like a horrible surprise. Because I think, again, that's something that, especially as a small business, you know, you need them, and you don't want this sort of, oh, well, the shoot's this much, but actually if you want to use anything, it's 3 times that much. And you kind of think, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, well, every photographer will be different. So I have 3 options, but an option where you just pay for the shoot and then you pay for the images afterwards. But again, I'm very upfront about the cost of the images, so they know that they pay a standard fee for the shoot, and then because I don't get rid of anything, it might be they want 2 or 3 images now, and then 2 or 3 images down the line when they have another campaign coming up, and that kind of thing. And they can work out those figures because it's all on my website. I also have options where you purchase the shoot and a certain number of images, and again, if they then want to purchase extras later, they can do that. And then I have an all-in option, so there's no kind of it's this many hours. I try to only do 1 shoot a day anyway, so it's a certain amount of money for the shoot and all the images, and that kind of takes the risk away a bit. And it doesn't matter whether we shoot, I end up with 500 images or 100 images, depending on how many products I've got or what the situation is. They get all of those images and the usage rights, and they're free to use them however they like. So kind of an easier option.
Yeah, absolutely. And how often would you say that brands should have shoots done, or would it very much depend on collections, or how, based on the brands you work with, is it a very regular thing, or?
I think it depends on the business. I think some businesses are changing very rapidly, and like you said, they have new collections, new products coming in all the time, whereas some businesses, a bit like mine really, my business only changes when I change. So I would need updated photos when I did my hair a different colour, or I just felt like I needed like a bit of a refresh. So I think I would say on average, if you were to think about booking once a year, that would be a good, because then you would have a set of images that you could use for the rest of the year going forward, and then depending on what you're doing next year, you would refresh and update. That would be a good kind of starting point. And then obviously you can supplement that with photos taken on your phone and by yourself. Yeah, that would be my ideal.
No, I think that's really good. I think that's a really good point, because again, I think the cost and the stress about it can really put people off, and I think, I'll just do something on my phone, or I'll use somebody local. But actually, the phone images can be really good, but they're very, very different, because I know I'm very, very proud of the 2 images I took of you, but the actual truth behind the matter is that whilst I pressed the button, if I could train my dog, she could have done it, because you did all the other work. You stood in the right place, you posed in the right way, you got you didn't get the light sorted, but you stood in a way that the light helped, you set up the camera. So it's not just, I think it's really important, because my phone is really, really clever. I know your phone is really clever as well, but it doesn't really matter how clever the phone is. It's understanding all the principles of how the stuff works, how it all goes together, how you're not being blinded by light, or it's too dark, or all the things that I take a picture because I go, oh, that's nice, and I look at it, I'm like, oh my god, that's not gone well at all. So I think it's really important to have that mix. And also, it's really difficult taking your own picture, because you can only get as far away as your arm. I know, hence all mine are kind of selfies. So I think getting that mix is really important. Also means that I think a photo shoot is incredibly good value anyway, because, you know, all social media platforms are visual. I know Instagram is the proper visual one, but we all know that posts on Twitter, on Facebook, Pinterest, all do so much better when they've got a proper image with them.
Image is king, absolutely. It's a very image-centric digital age we're living in, and and I think you make a judgment so quickly about a brand when you land on either their website or their social media page. And all of us, we might be running our brand thinking, oh, we'll just deal with amateur images until we can afford professional ones and hope it's okay. See amateur images taken, you know, that are blurry, that are taken in terrible lighting, and think, oh, well, they're clearly not very professional. We all make that judgment so fast. And I think that's why it's so important. You only get one chance at a first impression, and it's so important to have good imagery. I think that you can only do so much, and you know, it's good to supplement the professional photography with your iPhone pictures, and it's good to learn more about that so that you can make the most of that tool. But at the same time, I still think there's no substitute for getting professional images, and it doesn't have to be very often, you know, once a year. It's not, we pay so much for all sorts of things within our business, and photography for some reason seems to be one of the last things people want to pay for, when actually it's one of the things that makes the biggest difference to your online presence.
Absolutely. I think that's really, really important. And with there being such a big shift towards online for everything, I've looked at, you know, I can look at a product on 2 different websites, same product, but if one's photographed nicely and one isn't, I'll go with one that's photographed nicely, because I feel if they're putting that attention into that, I'm probably going to get it on time. You make a load of assumptions based on one thing, don't you? Anything you can do to stack the odds in your favour in a really competitive marketplace, you've got to look really seriously at.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just going to say that my mum has just started up a small business just selling things. She had a charity shop habit. So we set her up a business, making money from the things that she loves, going to boot sales and finding kind of what she calls and the thing that has made the biggest difference, she will sell a jug on eBay, for example, over somebody else selling a jug, is because we've worked really, really hard helping her with that kind of thing. And it's just made the biggest difference. She started putting things on eBay, not really selling much. And suddenly now everything she puts on there sells quite quickly, for a lot more money than it was selling for originally. And if a business like that, which is secondhand goods, it can benefit massively from photography, then I think that just shows you how important it is. And that's just on eBay, where people expect amateur photographs.
And I know we talked about different sort of costs and ideas, but didn't a few months ago you did a kind of combined shoot, didn't you?
Yes.
Is that something that you're looking to do again, or, you know, is a good way for people to get involved if they're a bit sort of not sure?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good entry level package, I guess. Obviously the cost is a lot lower because we were splitting the whole day between, I think it was, did we have 6 brands in the end, I think? And it was really good fun, and it's quite a lot of work to kind of bring it all together. There's a lot of puzzle pieces to go together. But I do definitely want to do a couple more of those in the future, because I think it's good for businesses that perhaps can't afford a full shoot for themselves, or who have just a couple of products that they need photographing and don't really want to commission an entire day's shoot or whatever. It's just a really good kind of halfway measure, I think. So we'll definitely be doing them in the future, more than anything because I enjoyed doing it. So yeah,
I mean, it was quite a diverse range of businesses as well, wasn't it? So you could go to one location and lots of things got included in lots of pictures, and they looked really
I mean, we had worming kits, worm like egg count kits. So I mean, that was interesting because I had to take a picture of poo, and that's not something I thought I was going to ever have to do, but you know, it's diverse, isn't it?
But then on the flip side, from the business's point of view, that actually shows how easy it is. I mean, I do worm eggs on the horses, and it is crazy easy. But again, you sort of look and you think, oh, veterinary, hard. And actually it's...
Yeah. Well, when she emailed me, the lady that runs the brand and the business, and she was like, how, is this something that you think you're going to be able to do? And I was like, well, you need photographs just like anybody else does. And we had a real giggle doing it, and my poor friend Nat got roped into picking up the poo, and and you know, it was fine. But yeah, she needs content. We all need content. So anything goes really, and you just have to get creative. And that's one of the things that's quite fun about it, is that every single brand is different, and you have to kind of think up ideas. I think one of the things with photography, commercial photography, is that you're selling the emotion behind the brand rather than the products themselves. So for example, when I said about the homeware company, I put the products into our home, so people could kind of see them in use. And I think that's really important. You're selling what the product does and what the emotion the product brings and the way you use it in your life, rather than the product itself. And that's what I think good commercial photography will do.
Obviously there's the kind of lifestyle-y photography, I'm going to call it, and there's also the ones on the white background, which I think are called pack shots. Is that right?
Yeah.
I call them pack shots, but I get very confused.
Yeah.
So do you think there's a place for both, or do you think you can go down one route or another, or does it depend on the brand? Because I've seen such a mixture on different websites and different places.
Yeah, there's 100% a place for both. I mean, I don't do the cutout images because I just don't have the facilities here to do it. And to be honest, it's not something I'm really interested in doing. And I'm very much kind of, I like to do things that challenge me and that I enjoy. So I don't offer that, but there is definitely a place for it, because I think they're great for websites, for really clear product shots where you just want the image on a white background with something from it. And then I think the lifestyle shots, where things are kind of in situ and on location, are much more suitable for your brand, really, for building kind of your brand story and the bigger picture, and for social media content, for kind of website headers, anything like that, really. I think that's more what I kind of offer.
No, completely. And I think as well, there's quite a few big companies, very that aren't horsey. Because again, I think actually understanding the subject matter is really important. I've seen non-equestrian photographers take horsey pictures and they're not right. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because I don't know what they did for a business, but I think in every industry there's the right way to do things. And even tucking a keeper into a buckle, is the kind of thing that, as a horsey person, that would drive me mad. And seeing a non-equestrian model sat on a horse and they're not holding the reins properly,
with their toes down.
Exactly. The first thing I think is, what does this brand know about horses? Because they clearly where was I going with this? So yes, so although I think it's really important to get the right photographer as well in your niche, I think there are some very big companies that do pack shot imagery that have got the studios, the something on one of the groups earlier about, I think they called it a ghost, I can't remember the correct terminology, but it was basically a product, a piece of clothing that looked like there was somebody in it, but there wasn't. So you could see how it fitted. And there's commercial places you can send it all off, get it all done, get the imagery back. There doesn't need to be any knowledge behind it in terms of the product or the industry, but you need all the skills, the studio, and everything else set up in order to achieve those shots.
Yeah, very definitely. And it's probably more affordable set up for that, and it's just, that's a really good way to do it, because like you say, there's no kind, it's a very specific skill and a specific service that they offer.
But I think that you have a white cutout shot on a something on Instagram, and you just kind of go, oh yeah. But if you're into buying that picture, if you're into buying that product, actually having that background shot, you can zoom right in and look at the detail.
Yeah, exactly. On a shop, on an online shop, that's brilliant. But for going back to kind of building your brand story, that's what you want to do with social media, and that's why the lifestyle shots, where they come into play, I guess. But like you say, both of them definitely have a place. Both are very important. And both are completely different skills. So
if somebody wants to find out more about you for their commercial or portrait photography, but I know we've talked about commercial today, go for all of the places we can find you, because you are everywhere.
All of them? I am everywhere. Okay, so my website is sophiecallahanphotography.com. I have a blog, which is Sophie Callahan blog. I'm on Instagram at Sophie Callahan. I'm on Facebook, which is /Sophie Callahan photos. I'm on Twitter, but you will probably leave that. I'm on like Pinterest and LinkedIn. I'm on every.
Excellent. I think that's really good. So got loads of stuff about commercial photography now that we know about. So thank you very much.